I'm excited about that song. It gives me good vibes. No pressure here following Jurgen. I'm not nervous at all. I am jazzed to be here, really. Thank you for setting this up. Thank you for putting this on. This is real special. I'm Deshaun. Today, magical day. 333 days in this role. I've done some other things before that. I want you to use a hashtag. I've seen the phones out. I want you to hashtag. I want you to tell everybody all the things that you've learned. Use either one of those. That would help a bunch. We want to do this again. It's a great time to be a developer. Man, does anybody else feel that? I know a couple of them in the back. Anybody else feeling that? Like, it is a great time. It went GA. Spring Framework 6 just went GA, and right around the corner. Are you guys aware of this? Calendar.spring.io. Did you guys know that existed? Everybody knew about start.spring.io, right? From my good friend, Josh. Second best place to be. Calendar.spring.io. We're going to give you the calendar. It's out there. It's available. You can always see. And just right around the corner, Spring Boot 3. Spring Boot. Oh, man, I was so excited when I first learned about Spring Boot. I had this opportunity. The best thing about it was the actuator. The actuator, like, I was able to take things into production. I didn't need somebody else to give me the Nagios or whatever it was going to measure. Oh, we got it. We're going to give you a dashboard. We're going to tell you all the things you need to do. I was building things that needed a bigger heap. I wanted to maximize my heap. I wanted that actuator there so I could see my own metrics. And I wasn't getting that from the dashboard that was provided by me. So again, Spring Boot, it took my career into a new dimension. It's just been wonderful the whole way. Let's keep going. It is a great time to be a developer. I make some assumptions coming into this group. The assumptions are, you like Java? Java users? Any? Yeah, oh, that's it. You like Spring? Where's Spring? Oh, not all the hands are up, but that's okay. Well, I'm going to help you along the way. Another assumption, better software is better than worse software. Agree? Go, good. And we are limited in some things. Time. Is there anybody, only raise your hand, anybody that has unlimited time? Whoa, boy. That is amazing. I want to speak to you afterwards. Anybody have unlimited infrastructure? I can stand up as many VMs as I want right now. Anybody? Anybody? No? All right, okay. Money. Who's got unlimited money? I can spend as much as I want on infrastructure, as much as I want on process. My cloud bill doesn't matter. Anybody? Not a single, wait. One, I want to talk to you. We're going to have a nice conversation at the happy hour. Spring Framework 6 is GA. Spring Boot 3, next week. We saw it on the calendar. This is so exciting. I do office hours, so you have questions. Jurgen covered a lot. There's a lot of new things that I have not touched. There's a lot of things I'm excited about, and I'm assuming that you're excited about them too. I run the Spring office hours. It's every Tuesday. 10:30 your time. Let us know, use that hashtag, and let us know we would like to do more shows. We'd like to make it available into your time zone. We've got to find something that fits. But we're doing this every week. If you've got questions about Spring Framework, anything Spring, you can bring them. We do live, interactive channels. We've got people coming from all over the world, and it's a great show. I highly recommend it. Mean time to dopamine. How many of you heard this metric? It's, as a developer, how long do I have to work on something before I can see it in production? How long do I have to work on something before I can smile? That's a very important metric that I want you to consider. Anybody using M1s or Raspberry Pi? ARM64, anyone? Hands, I got 1, 2, 3. Wait, put your hands all the way up. I want to get an idea. We got about 200 people in the room. I got about 25 that are using either M1 or Raspberry Pi. I'm going to say 26. Oh, we got M2. M2, not humble. We're going to do a quick little demo. This is GraalVM. If you've got your laptops out, this is what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and start a project. Feel free to play along. And yeah, let's just jump into it. We're going to go build a quick little project. I'm going to do this, copy and paste, right? Can you see that screen all right? You can also go to start.spring.io. Just all I'm doing is grabbing the web dependency and the actuator dependency. I'm choosing to build a Maven project, and I'm using Java 17. While we're talking about Java 17, How many people are using Java 17 right now? Oh, maybe almost half? Or how about Java 17 or higher? 17 or higher? About half, okay. Who's still, I don't know how to ask this nicely. Who's having difficulty upgrading from Java 8? It's a safe place. But there's a strategy. We have a way to work around that. Your account team will definitely help. There's a way. There's a safe way to go forward. We're doing this. I have a project. Let's take a look at it. It works. The next thing I want to do is we're going to see how long does it take to build this project. Remember, mean time to dopamine. I'm doing development. How long does it take to do stuff? I'm going to use Maven W, clean, package. Whew. This is my normal process. Actually, my default is I do Maven clean install. I don't know why. That's just the history one, but you'll see why I do this later. Okay, it took 8.3 seconds. Okay, mean time, we can fix that a little bit. So we're going to show you another way. I'm using a program called Maven D, clean package. So same thing. I get Maven W packaged in when I take it from start.spring.io, the initializer. Maven D runs locally, starts up a little thing, very similar to Gradle. But as I'm doing my inner loop development, I can get that time a little bit faster. Okay, I made a change, I changed a typo, and then I run it again, and I'll see it should be a little bit faster than 5 seconds. Oh, you know what I didn't do? 5.7 seconds. 8 seconds and 5.7 seconds. But I'll be honest, this is what I do. Right? I'm so glad that I'm with my people. I mean, these are, you guys, you get me. I felt that way since the moment I walked here. I didn't walk to Tel Aviv. The moment I got into Israel, I felt like I was surrounded by my people. In the office, everybody, this team is amazing. So this is much faster, right? Just Maven D. I made a little typo change. Cool. We're moving forward. What else we want to do? Let's see how long it takes to start up. I'm going to do it this way. You increase it? Is that better? Yeah, we'll be able to see all the magic. So this will take a little bit. I've got plenty of time. And it looks like it took 1.461 seconds. Everybody see that? Yeah, that's good. So hey, do a build, iterate, go test it. That's what we should do. We should test it. So let's go and do, I think that's what I said next. Yeah. HTTP 8080 actuator health. And it's up and running. It works. So my app, cool, that's fast, right? It's a really simple app, but I have something that was built from the initializer, built using my compiler, and it's running locally. And everything is kind of in seconds. Wonderful. Let's get some other metrics. Let's look at the memory at runtime. So with my startup, I get a process ID. I'm on a Mac. I'm going to copy that process ID, and I'm going to say VM map the process ID, and I just want to see the physical memory. 119 megs. Real small. That's not doing anything. Cool. Let's do a build pack. How many people are using build packs? Hands, build packs? Well, let's talk about build packs for a second, because there's not a lot of hands up. Build pack is a way of building my image. I like to quote Cora and saying the container is the new artifact. Right? I've been in that position where, hey, I'm building jar files or war files. I think a lot of you are wearing the t-shirt, make jar, not war. And now I'm going to say maybe make container, not jar. I can deliver it to everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to build this image. The build pack gives me a consistent way. Let's do it over here. Yeah, let's do it over here. I'm going to stop my process. I'm going to build it. I'm going to do spring boot build image. This is going to take a while. The magic about using this, I have a 16 gig AMD laptop, and I use this one on purpose for showing some of these mean time to dopamine things. What this is doing is it's pulling down a build image here, and everything is in a Docker image. So it's going to pull that down, and it's going to do all the building inside of that image. Later, we're going to hear about test containers. One of the things that we can do, if I was really, really pressed for time, I could actually use this test container cloud to go and run these builds using build packs. Have a consistent way of doing these build time things, not on my machine. And that's pretty special, especially when you're trying to do a demo, right? But demos are, it's easy. So this has taken a long time. I don't know why it's pulling down the same image. I think it's because I changed the network. But yeah, what is doing all the stuff inside? How many people are using Docker files? You have a Docker file sitting all the way up. Oh, boy. Wow. Oh. So just to be honest, I'm sharing. I feel real comfortable with you guys. Java 8 and Docker files, they kind of have the same bucket for me. Because I had the scar tissue, right? The not happy memories of, hey, there was a change, I wanted to upgrade, I wanted to use Spring Framework 6, and I was having to go and upgrade the Docker files for all of those projects. Anytime a CVE came out, I was having to update the Docker or build the image for all those projects. I lived that life for a while. I did not like it. And I found build packs. I like build packs because I have a consistent way of delivering artifacts to production and to my friends and to you. This one took 1 minute and 36 seconds. 1 minute and 36 seconds. That seems like a long time, but we were pulling down things. If I do it again, it'll go much faster. Mean time to dopamine. It shouldn't take that long now that we're pulling things down. But yeah, the idea of delivering this artifact to my friends, to my team, to production, that's magical. Having a consistent way. And I get to lean on the smart people that are building those build packs. And I can contribute to those build packs if I find something wrong. They're open source. So that's fun. If you have an M1 or an M2, feel free to play along. I want to see how long it takes to build on your M1 or M2. All right? Anybody that has that, feel free. I'll even give you a little cheat code. This code, my slides are up here on GitHub. My GitHub is Deshaun. And yeah, so if you want to play along, I want to hear how long it takes for somebody to build this project with their M1 or M2 or Raspberry Pi. So go, the clock's starting. All right, so cool, 17 seconds. But that 17 seconds means I have a Docker image. Let's take a look at that. Oh, you know what? I just broke something. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. If I do Docker images, oops, I'm gonna find it. It's just that demo image. Let's do it like this. Demo. Whoop. I'm so not nervous following Jurgen. All right, so I have an image out there. That was that 001 snapshot that we just created that took 17 seconds. And let's pump that back up. So I said I made a mistake. I didn't want to actually build that, but I wanted to show you. And it's a demo. Like, what could possibly go wrong? So I showed you a few metrics. Let's go back to our slides. And let's keep on going. GraalVM has this just-in-time compiling like we just showed. I'm using the GraalVM and Java-version. Right? I'm using 22.3, which you need with Spring Framework 6, well, to do the cool things with Spring Boot 3. And I'm using Java 17. So you can do nothing else. You can switch your JVM, your JDK, you can switch it to GraalVM, and you're going to get a performance boost. That's it. So if you do nothing else, my first action for you to do is switch to the GraalVM. It's really nice. I think you'll like it. Just to get performance increase. Nothing else. You don't have to make any other changes. Just try that. And it'll be very similar to your experience today. Now, there's two approaches. And Jurgen did a great job of kind of setting that up. There's negotiations. Mean time to dopamine is the important one. My local development, I'm going to be doing just-in-time compiling. I'm going to have that closed loop, inner loop development cycle. But I've got friends. You're my friends. Sometimes I want to be a good teammate. Sometimes I want to do other things, and I want to do this ahead of time, this GraalVM ahead of time processing that's provided with Spring Boot 3 and Spring Framework 6. So let's do a native build. Now, this is the tough part. This is going to take a while. So I'm going to have to dance a little bit in between here, okay? Is everybody comfortable with that? Actually, I'm not even going to do this one. No, because it's too long. Do you guys see what that 6 minutes we have? Yeah, let's just do it. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? In VNW, I have to use that native. So you get this out of the box. This is something that's pretty neat. You get it out of the box. You don't have to add anything else. The parent POM has this native profile. Hey, I want to use that native profile. I want to do things. So I'm going to just do native compile. And this is going to take a little bit. But M1 machines, it's going to go really, really fast, right? Somebody's going to do that demo. This is a Intel 2020 type of Mac. Just share, yeah. You guys can see that maybe. It says 2020 Mac, 16 gigs of memory. While you're doing this, memory is important. Processor is important for your machine. It's going to take a little while. This is not the loop that I want you to be in. We remember the XKCD. Oh, it's compiling, right? What are you working on? No, it's compiling. We don't want that. That's boring. So this is going to go. We're going to let that run. It's doing its native build. It takes a long time, more than a minute. But we're going to look at some other things. All right. Startup time. So while that's compiling on the one side, I have a pre-compiled version. Here's the cake out of the oven. And we're going to run it. Let's look at target demo. All right, it says 0.79 seconds. So that's pretty cool. And now this is, again, I told you that memory is intensive, CPU is intensive, so I've got the other GraalVM building going on at the same time. And I'm still sub-second startup time. When that's done, we'll do this again, and it'll be much faster. But still, that's quite an improvement. If you've got workloads that could benefit from that fast startup time, this is a really good option for you. Maybe you've got a team of 10 or maybe even 200 that you guys are sharing work. You'd like to test and evaluate each other's work. It would be really nice if the images that you were running on your laptop started up faster instead of slower. So you could have that mean time to dopamine. So I want you to consider a few things. So this is now running. Let's test it. Same way, I'm going to hit that endpoint. I can just do this. And I can see, hey, it works. And it's up. Cool. It's the exact same output. It's the same thing. But this time we took a lot of time up front to do that ahead of time processing. There's some negotiations. There's some things that I trade. I can't do things like agents. I can't attach anything to a JVM because the JVM is baked into a statically linked binary. But because we've added the observability at the ground level with Spring Framework 6, you get all the things that you need out of the actuators. You can get the things you need out of the actuators instead of attaching an agent. So now let's take a look. Are you guys ready? This is the one you want to take pictures of. Let's take a look at that. VM map. What was my PID? Spring Boot gives that to me. Oops, I forgot to pipe grep. Physical. So, do you guys remember what the first number was for the exact same app? 119, right? And now it's 38. But again, this is a simple application. Simple application, right? The bigger the application, the more savings, right? So I'm going to ask you this question. Let's say you were running a bunch of JVM apps that really could benefit from this AOT processing ahead of time compiling. Let's say that your infrastructure person is in the building or in the room. Would you get a pat on the back if you could just take maybe 1, 2, 3 of your applications and you could save 50%, 60%, or more on your infrastructure, on your just memory footprint. Would you get a pat on the back if you did that? Maybe. Maybe. This is it. So the reason that I'm excited about this, the reason I'm having such a good time with this native processing is because now I have this, my hobby is Raspberry Pis. Now I have this opportunity where I can build these tiny little Spring Boot apps. I don't have to change my language. I can build these Spring Boot apps. I can run them on $15 computers, and I'm connected. That's it, right? The idea of running a Spring Boot app on something that has 512 megabytes of memory, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. And when you're building containers, right? How many people are, the Dockerfile hands, which was most of everybody, the Dockerfile hands, how much do you assign to your process, to your JVM? How much memory do you assign by default? 1 gig? 1 gig? 4 gigs? 1, 2? 1 gig, that's risky, I think. But yeah, it's possible depending on your JVM. 4 gig, that's very comfortable. 2 gig is kind of a minimum. That's kind of the minimum bar. But now your images, we can throw out that JVM layer. I'm getting a statically linked binary. What does that mean? Like, what's the difference? It's a massive difference. I can deliver these images, container images, on any infrastructure. I have to make sure that's the right architecture, right? The image that I create for a native image will not run. This is built on an AMD, on an Intel. This image will not run on an M1 because it's for the architecture that was built on. This image is going to run on, and because I did it command line and I didn't use the build pack, this image is only going to run on Darwin Intel. This binary file will only run on Darwin Intel. If I use the build pack, hey, it only took 4 minutes. So that's the build pack image that we were running before that I knew was going to take a while. Only 4 minutes to go, but that was the command line one, right? That's what we did. Now we're going to do that same thing. And we're going to give it just that profile, Spring boot dash boot build image. So now I'm building an image, native image. I'm doing all this inside of that Docker file. Oops. And I'm going to have a container, and this is going to take a little bit. So it took 4 minutes to build the image without the native compiling, the native processing, and now it's going to do the image, but it's going to use that pnative profile, and we're going to keep on going. So that's going to run. So we saw some pretty good improvements in startup time. We went from like 1.19 to 0.79, which that was also running something in the background. And we did the build pack. So this is what's running right now. So this is what it took when I was out in the hall, 5:36. Let's see if we can go faster than that. So keep in mind, it's architecture specific. But there's a path here, right? You're doing your inner loop development. Do you really need to be creating those images for others? Do you need to take that time off your desktop in order to do that for others? No, you put it into a pipeline. You put that thing into a pipeline. You use something like build packs so you don't have to even think about its output. You can use those build packs to generate those dynamic images for any architecture. And that's going to work. So, what else? The pay path production starts at your laptop. Does that make sense? All the things that you're doing as a developer day to day, it really starts with your laptop. You want to have that good experience. So be mindful when you're looking at AOT versus just-in-time compiling. Be mindful of what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? I highly recommend that you put your AOT builds, put them into a pipeline. Don't do it on your desktop. Don't do it on your laptop. And I'll help. I kind of pulled you in, I kind of teased. The Paketo build packs don't support ARM64 today. But like I said, it's open source. So I'm happy to say, hey, you can do this. I've been making the ARM64 build packs for a while, and it's really not a tough process. And just last week, actually it was kind of the day that I got here, I pushed out a multi-architecture build pack. So I can have one build pack, and I'm going to push this up to Paketo. I've been working with Daniel Makusa very closely. The idea of having this build pack, and I can build images for ARM64 or for AMD 64, using the same build pack, having that consistent path to production and having it start on my laptop. And I can make those choices. I can choose to do the -P profile, that native profile, or not. Now I want you to consider this. I want you to deploy all the things on your laptop. I worked for a large company, and I had a large team. And that large team was working on a lot of things. Did everybody see Elon's tweet the other day? He's like, oh, I'm going to get rid of these microservices. We don't need those. I mean, if you cut your team, by 80%, yeah, then you probably don't want to be taking as many things to production. But if you've got a big team, everybody has that path to production. Everybody wants that path, and they can deploy independently. Well, sometimes it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up with what everybody else is doing. So this is what I'm proposing to you. I don't know how you're deploying on your laptop. I like to use Knative, running on top of a Kubernetes cluster locally. And with Knative, I get some really cool features. I can scale to 0. So imagine, if you will, service A through service Z that the rest of my team is building. I want to run all of those things on my laptop. When I'm doing my inner loop development, I want to test. I want to just hit it and have it stand up. The idea is I can have all of those services deployed on my laptop, scale to 0 when I'm not using them, but when I need them, when that call comes in, they'll listen. So I don't have to run a test suite to do it. I'm going to do my same loop. I make my typo change. I'm going to build it, and I'm going to run it. And if I call these other services, they're running on my laptop, and they start up in less than a second, and they respond. And then they're done. So now, that's the way I live. That's the way I want you to live. This is just one of those cheat codes. You heard it here first. That path to production starts on your laptop. You can share that with your friends. If you're building these native build packs with your pipelines, then everybody gets to pull down. The native build packs, those OCI images, they're even smaller when you build them with that AOT processing. So that the amount of time it takes to get over the wire, even if you guys all pushed a new version right now, I can get those really quickly because the OCI image is so much smaller. And my team can always be using the latest, and it's easy. It's a hard thing sometimes to keep up with head, especially with Spring. There's so many projects, so many things are moving, but your teammates are doing the work. And as those things are going forward, I want you to grab them. It's just an opportunity. It's a way of life that I didn't have before, right? We didn't have the ability, if you had more than a dozen Spring Boot apps that you were deploying to production, you didn't really have a way of running a lot of things locally and having a good experience. And now it's here. It is a great time to be a developer because of Spring Framework 6, Spring Boot 3, how fast it is to get things up and running. The other thing about Spring Boot 3 is I don't have to worry about my dependencies, right? I just grab them and I know that they're going to work together. I don't ever have to do that magic of, oh, is this version compatible with that one? And I get to move forward. So now, and I really didn't realize that we were going to get 2 versions of Spring Boot every year. Did you guys hear that? Did you guys catch that part from Jürgen? I get 2. Not 1, I get 2 every year. This is amazing. So I'm going to say, be a better consumer. Take the time to understand what your workload looks like. This is not something that's going to work for every use case, right? It is faster. It does have a faster startup, but there are trade-offs depending on the characteristics of your workload. There are trade-offs. Not every workload is going to be faster. The performance characteristics that you get with an ahead-of-time processed workload, they're consistent. It's going to work the same at startup as it does a day from now. How many people are doing like a soak test on the things they put to production? They go send it to production, it's going to run for an hour, some kind of load test, to get that just-in-time compiling, to get the JVM to optimize your code. Does anybody do that? Anything similar? A couple hands? Yeah? We get those benefits. With just-in-time compiling, your performance can actually increase and improve over time because the JVM is going to do a lot of optimization for you. Ahead of time, we're looking at all the branches of everything that we think can happen, and that's what we're going to give you, statically linked, compiled for your architecture. Those are some of the trade-offs. if you can save 50, 60, 70% or more on memory, maybe you'll get a pat on the back. Maybe you'll get a raise. If you can make that startup time, if you can improve performance for your customers, even at peak times, maybe you'll get a pat on the back. But always, you can be a better consumer of that infrastructure. One of the things about scaling to zero, the Spring Framework has done a lot of work to make that startup time faster for those types of workloads that want to scale to zero and then come up as needed and respond quickly. Now you got more options. You have more options. Spring Boot 3. Juice. You guys have an opportunity here to kind of get on it early. The release candidate 2 is out, and I say juice because I want you to join us in creating excitement. That's my thing. You guys are here. I'm asking of you. I want you to take what you've learned and what you're going to continue to learn throughout the day. I want you to take that, and I want you to take it back to your teams. I want you to take it back to your teams and show them, have them help you go forward with it. Learn things. Come to Spring office hours. And thanks. I went really fast. Let's go take a look at our thing. Hey, it took 4 minutes and 16 seconds. Is there anything else I need to show? What's that? So this is I built a container image. So let's go take a peek at, I'm going to copy paste because my hands are shaking. Hey, we did this. Yeah, let's run that. So now I'm starting up the container image. Oh, this one's running. Hello. No pressure. It's a demo. Of course it's going to work, right? Hello, hello. Let's see if we can do it. Oh, here we go. All right. So we did the native image startup with a static link binary for Darwin on AMD, and it took 0.79 seconds. Well, now we're doing a container, an image container. We're running it on Docker natively, or it was AOT compiled. It used Linux, but that's okay, on Intel, AMD 64. And it started up in 0.08. I mean, if we're talking about performance improvement, 1.3 seconds down to 0.08, that's pretty good. So yeah, this is me. I'm excited about this. You can imagine some of the things that this opens up for Spring Boot, for Spring Framework. I want you to remember, for your workloads, for your development experience, I want you to realize, like, hey, you can do some really, really cool things, like deploy 20 instances, have them scale to zero. I'm going to add one more thing. This is a great opportunity. I don't know if you guys know, but this is overcapacity. For those of you that can't see, we've got people sitting on the stairs. We've got people downstairs watching a live feed. But you have an opportunity. Your Tanzu team here in Israel, they can actually set up something like this for you at your company, for your org, specific, direct, smaller version, but get you the things that you need to get you over whatever hurdle you're facing. So yeah, Spring Framework 6 is GA. Spring Boot 3. Release candidate 2 is out right now. If you take it for a spin right now, you're actually helping us make sure we don't miss anything because it's going GA next week. We want your feedback. Spring office hours, right now it's every Tuesday, 10:30 local time. I want to hear about it. You can find me. You can find my slides. You can also find this multi-architecture build pack and how to take that for a spin. For those of you that are using M1s or M2s, yeah, I'm looking right. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's it. I have time for questions. I rushed through. I was trying to squeeze it down, but I've got time for questions. Yeah.
What's the image size?
No, that's a totally valid question. So if I wanted to look at the container image size, how am I gonna look at the container image size? Oh, I can do, what? I'm looking right at you. What? Oh, Docker image. LS? Oh, yeah. Oh. Where's this? Oh, there it is. So this 103 megabytes, that's my OCI image. So so because I gave them the same name, I can't show the other image. But let's take a look and see if I have a similar. So this is a similar project, you gotta trust me, that didn't do the native compilation. So what's the difference? What is that 100 megs? Who knows what that 100 meg difference might be? I think I heard the JVM layer, the runtime layer, right? In that base image, if I got a base image, to do a Java project, to deliver something in Java, I've got to deliver something to run that jar file on. That bytecode has to have that JVM. So that's just size of the image. I always look at disk size, doesn't really mean a whole lot, but where it matters is when you're transferring it over the wire. If you're delivering 10,000 of these images over the globe, that makes a difference. 200 megs versus 100 megs, right? If you're releasing multiple times a day to 10,000 instances over the globe, that makes a difference. Not so much on disk cost, right? Disk is nothing, right? But how many people are aware of their ingress, egress across different networks, right? Those types of things make a big difference. That was a great question. I hope I answered it. Yeah. Debugging. So we're getting there. So I know that there's options right now. I haven't done a whole lot of the debugging the native images, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm not going to be doing that in my inner loop. So this is Yep, it works. I just haven't done a whole lot. And the point is, when I'm doing things natively, when I have those images, that's not what I'm messing with. Right? I'm going to put that into a pipeline, and that's going to be something that I'm running to production, but I'm not doing that type of inner loop development locally. That's the only reason I haven't got the experience. But Olga's here to tell me that it's already in preview. We have options. JetBrains is supporting it already. You can already do it. So yeah, that's a great thing that I think I'm going to do it on Spring Office hours. Yeah. Yeah.
To cross the chasm. But the thing is, I want to know if it's actually catching on. If you're seeing this in the Spring initializer statistics, something maybe.
So the question was, hey, GraalVM, we've been hearing about GraalVM for years. Is it actually catching on with Spring? I'll tell you, first of all, it's the reason that I'm here. It's the reason that I was excited to come and be a part of the Spring team. Because I was passionate about these Raspberry Pis. I'm passionate about things going fast. I like to clean up behind myself. I have a little bit of startup entrepreneur history. I'm the proud founder of 12 failed startups. So, yep. So the idea that Spring is making these moves, I started with Spring 2.7. We had the Spring Native experimental project. So I've been working on this, and I've been building build packs and taking these out to the edge, and I've got customers and relationships where we're taking these native images. Yep, we're with customers taking these native images out to the edge on ARM. So I can tell you this, that is definitely growing. Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say stuff, but we can talk off this. And yeah, this is definitely a space that is growing for all of these reasons. The other place where it's growing, where I'm taking a lot of questions, is in the cloud, right? For those serverless workloads. As things scale, as I have spiky workloads, right? I don't want JVMs sitting there, right? JVM performance is great, but yes, the question is really, hey, is it catching on? Well, now that Spring Framework 6 is GA, now that Spring Boot 3 is right around the corner, I can say that that multi-architecture build pack is very popular, and it's tons of good feedback for something that I released November 12th, 5 days ago. So yeah, there is some demand there from what I can see, but we can't really see from initializer statistics what people are doing in production. But it takes people like you to tell us. Use those hashtags, or you know how to find me. Yeah? What's the status of CVEs for these versions? I don't know how to answer that question. So in my pipelines, I really look. I don't want to take care of a bunch of things. I don't want to fork a lot of things. One of the things that I find with Spring is if I can't find it, if I can't figure it out, this seems like something that should be there. A lot of times it is, and I just need to ask. But my pipelines, I like to look for those CVEs and look for those critical things. You're going to hear later about TAP, and one way of identifying CVEs and getting those patched and getting notified. You're going to learn about that later, but I don't know how to answer that for this particular topic. I think you're going to get more on that later. Any other questions? I guess. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. We have a break. Oh, excellent. All right, thank you.